Listen closely, because the world is getting louder, and the louder it gets, the more dangerous your truth becomes in the wrong ears. Sometimes the safest thing you can ever say is nothing at all. There comes a moment in every person's life when they finally understand this. Your peace is built on what you protect, not what you explain. We grow up thinking vulnerability means telling everyone everything, letting them into the messy middle of our lives, our fears, our hopes, our heartbreaks. And for a long time, we believe that sharing is the bridge that creates connection. But what we don't realize until life hits us hard is that connection without discernment becomes exposure. And exposure attracts all the wrong people. You don't owe your life story to every listener. You don't owe your private battles to every curious gaze. You don't owe your plans, your wounds, or your gems to people who show up only to judge, compare, question, or quietly root for your downfall. Let me tell you something honest and unfiltered. Silence is not weakness. Silence is intelligence. Silence is a boundary wrapped in wisdom. When you stop telling the world what's happening in your life, you don't become closed off. You become guarded in a way that honors your worth. You become someone who doesn't hand their soul to anyone who merely asks. You become someone who understands that privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is self-respect. And once you taste the safety of being unspoken, once you feel the strength of keeping your decisions, your struggles, and your healing close to your chest, you will never go back to oversharing again. There's a quiet truth most people never admit out loud. We overshare because we're craving reassurance. We hope that by telling people what we're going through, someone will finally say the right words, soothe the anxiety, hold the pain, or validate our choices. But here's the harsh reality. Most people aren't listening to understand. They're listening to compare, to judge, to gossip, or to secretly measure themselves against you. And when you expose your life to the wrong audience, you hand them emotional weapons without even realizing it. You tell someone your dreams, and suddenly they're questioning your ability. You share your struggles, and they start using your vulnerability as proof that you're weak. You talk about your plans, and you notice their energy shift, their tone dim, their encouragement fade into silence. Not because your dreams are wrong, but because your courage threatens their comfort. Oversharing doesn't make you brave. It makes you visible in rooms where you are not valued. Bravery is learning to hold your truth without broadcasting it. Bravery is understanding that privacy is not dishonesty, it's emotional maturity. It's recognizing that your inner world is precious, not content. Imagine how different your life becomes when you stop opening the door to people who haven't earned access. Imagine the serenity that comes when you no longer explain yourself to those who aren't invested in your growth. Imagine the protection you feel when you stop giving people information they can twist, judge, or use. Your silence is not emptiness, it is self-preservation. There are 3 kinds of people in your life: those who care, those who pretend, and those who collect. The ones who care, they hold your truth with tenderness. They don't repeat it, twist it, weaponize it, or make your pain about themselves. These people are rare. They are the quiet few who listen with their hearts, not with their curiosity. But then there are the pretenders, the ones who nod while secretly enjoying your struggle. They don't want you destroyed, but they absolutely don't want you rising higher than them. Your stories are entertainment to them. Your pain is a temporary boost to their self-esteem. And then there are the collectors, the most dangerous group of all. These are the people who store your vulnerability like ammunition. They stay close, not out of love, but out of strategy. They wait, they watch, they remember. Your oversharing becomes their leverage. Your transparency becomes their opportunity. Let me tell you something that may sting. Not every smiling face is a safe place. Not every listener is a guardian of your truth. Some people clap for you only because they want to keep the rhythm of your life in their control. This is why silence becomes power. When you keep your struggles, your plans, your healing, and your future closer to your chest, you stop feeding pretenders. You starve collectors. You protect your heart from the ones who only show up to take. Silence separates the genuine from the curious, and that separation saves you. There's a moment, quiet, subtle, almost invisible, when you finally realize that silence is not emptiness, it's alignment. It's the moment you stop talking to be understood and start choosing silence to be protected. Silence is powerful because it removes your life from the wrong conversations. It keeps your growth away from those who would stun it. It shields your dreams from people who lack imagination. It guards your healing from those who feed off drama. And when you choose silence intentionally, something inside you shifts. You begin to feel your energy coming back. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop giving updates to people who contribute nothing to your journey. You stop managing other people's reactions, disappointments, and expectations. You reclaim the emotional space that oversharing slowly steals from you. In your silence, you begin to see who genuinely cares, because real people don't require explanations. They don't need every detail. They don't demand your wounds as proof of your trust. They simply show up quietly, consistently, gently. Silence is also where your confidence grows. When you're no longer broadcasting your every move, every plan, every hardship, you start making decisions based on what's right, not on what you fear others will think. Your life becomes cleaner. Your heart becomes lighter. Your mind becomes sharper. Your boundaries become stronger. And here's the truth people don't like hearing. You don't owe the world access to the parts of you still under construction. Your silence is not hiding, it's healing. Your silence is not avoidance, it's protection. Your silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. Healing is not loud. It doesn't announce itself, it doesn't demand attention, it doesn't need an audience. Real healing happens in the quiet corners of your life, in the moments no one sees, in the choices no one knows about, in the battles you fight silently because explaining them would only exhaust you more. You've probably learned this the hard way. When you tell people you're healing, they start expecting progress. They start questioning every step. They start asking for updates like you owe them a timeline. But healing doesn't belong to spectators. Your heart deserves the freedom to rebuild without pressure. Your mind deserves the space to soften without judgment. Your spirit deserves the grace to grow without someone monitoring your progress. That's why silence becomes sacred. When you heal quietly, you protect yourself from unnecessary opinions. You protect your wounds from being reopened. You protect your growth from being minimized by people who never saw the depth of your pain. In silence, you learn to reconnect with yourself, not the version the world wants, not the version people expect, but the version that is honest, raw, present, and whole. And here's the part most people never understand. Healing is not about proving anything. It's not about showing strength. It's not about convincing others you're okay. Healing is about reclaiming the parts of you that you abandoned just to survive. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is say nothing at all and allow your transformation to unfold without witnesses. Because the quieter your healing becomes, the stronger you grow. There is a quiet power in keeping your future to yourself, not because you're hiding, not because you're afraid, but because you finally understand that people can ruin what they can't control, so they try to control what they can see. Every time you share your plans with the wrong audience, you give them invisible influence over your path. Their doubts become echoes in your mind. Their fear becomes weight on your decisions. Their jealousy becomes resistance you didn't ask for. Their silence becomes a shadow over your excitement. And suddenly, your dreams feel heavier, not because they are too big, but because too many hands touched them without ever helping. When you protect your future with silence, you reclaim your authority. You stop handing out access passes to your purpose. You stop letting outside voices shape your direction. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit other people's comfort zones. Your future deserves quiet. It deserves protection. It deserves privacy, because the things you build in silence grow without interference. They grow without competition. They grow without pressure. They grow without the weight of someone else's insecurity. Think of the strongest seeds. They don't grow in sunlight first. They grow underground, hidden, guarded, safe. Your future is just like that seed. It needs darkness before it can survive the light. It needs privacy before it can handle exposure. It needs silence before it can handle applause. The world doesn't need your blueprint. It will see the results when you're ready, not when you're pressured. Your future flourishes the moment you stop announcing it. There is a specific kind of peace that settles into your life the moment you stop explaining yourself. It's quiet. It's steady. It feels like finally exhaling after years of holding your breath. When you stop explaining your choices, you take back something sacred, your autonomy. Because explanations, especially to the wrong people, become cages. You say yes, they ask why. You say no, they push back. You make a decision, and suddenly it's open for debate. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone a justification for the life you're trying to build. Not everyone deserves insight into your healing. Not everyone deserves clarity about your boundaries. Not everyone deserves the story behind your silence. When you stop explaining, you stop giving people the power to influence you. You stop asking for permission, sometimes without even realizing you were asking. You stop seeking approval from people who never understood your values, your wounds, or your journey. You become freer. The world becomes quieter. Your mind feels lighter. Your decisions feel cleaner because they belong to you again. And the people around you start showing who they truly are. The ones who respect you will adapt. The ones who depended on your over-explaining will fall away. The ones who were only there to judge will lose access entirely. That's the beauty of not explaining yourself. It reveals who's in your life for connection and who's in your life for control. Your silence becomes a boundary, your decisions become declarations, and your life becomes undeniably yours. You don't need to justify your path, you just need to walk it. One of the most powerful things silence ever does is this. It reveals people, not by what they say, but by how they react when you stop talking. When you pull back, when you share less, when you stop offering a running commentary of your inner world, people begin to expose their true intentions. The real ones stay. They don't need details to care. They don't need explanations to support you. They don't need constant updates to remain present. Their loyalty is not fed by information. It's fed by connection. But the fake ones, they get uncomfortable. They start pushing. They start prying. They start creating stories because they no longer have access to yours. Your silence disrupts the parts of them that benefited from your transparency. Maybe they enjoyed being the first to know. Maybe they liked feeling above you. Maybe they used your vulnerability to fill their own emotional emptiness. Your silence breaks that pattern. And they feel the loss, not because they miss you, but because they miss the version of you who overshared. This is where you learn something life-changing. The people who disappear when you go silent were never there for you. They were there for the information you provided. Silence becomes a filter. It removes the needy, the nosy, the controlling, the jealous, the entitled, the emotional thieves. It clears the room so the right people can breathe in your presence again. You don't have to confront anyone. You don't have to argue, explain, or justify. Just go quiet and watch the truth rearrange your entire life. There is a special kind of transformation that only happens when no one is watching. Not because you're hiding, but because you finally understand that growth is not a performance. You rebuild differently when you're not narrating your progress. You rise differently when you're not performing strength for applause. You heal differently when you're not explaining your pain to people who can't carry it. When you rebuild yourself without an audience, every step becomes intentional. You start choosing what genuinely feels right, not what looks right from the outside. You learn to enjoy your own company again, not out of loneliness, but out of emotional safety. You start discovering parts of yourself you didn't realize you lost. Your confidence grows without commentary. Your discipline sharpens without praise. Your vision becomes clearer without comparison. And here's the beautiful irony. The less you tell people, the more they notice your transformation, not because you shouted it, but because you lived it. Rebuilding in silence gives you something public rebuilding never can: security. No one can sabotage what they don't know exists. No one can mock what they never heard. No one can interrupt what they never saw forming. Your growth becomes untouchable. Your progress becomes yours alone. Your transformation becomes rooted so deeply that no opinion, no jealousy, no outsider can shake it. This is the stage where you stop proving and start becoming, where you stop performing and start evolving, where you stop explaining and start embodying. And when you emerge stronger, clearer, and more grounded than anyone expected, because the greatest versions of ourselves are built in silence. This is the final truth. Living unspoken is not about fear. It's about courage. It's about knowing that your life, your energy, and your peace are sacred, and they deserve protection. When you stop announcing your struggles, your victories, your plans, your setbacks, you step into a power few people ever experience. You stop outsourcing your peace to opinions. You stop letting validation dictate your confidence. You stop allowing the world to narrate your story. Living unspoken is about choice. It's about choosing yourself over the approval of others, choosing your growth over their judgment, choosing your healing over their curiosity. The irony. The quieter you live, the louder your life speaks. Not in words, but in presence. Not in explanations, but in results. Not in announcements, but in strength. Your actions, your boundaries, your resilience, they become the language the world cannot ignore. When you embrace this, something incredible happens. The wrong people fall away. The fake supporters fade. The energy vampires lose access. And you are left with clarity, focus, and the space to thrive. Remember this always. Your life is safer unspoken now because your silence is your shield, your strength, and your sanctuary. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify your choices. You don't need to share your path to earn respect. Your life is yours. Your peace is yours. And the power of keeping it unspoken is yours to claim. Love it, protect it, honor it,